Not anything new, not anything extravagant, but only what was in my budget. Hi guys, my name is andiswa.mojapelo and welcome back to my channel. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your continuous support. I really do appreciate it. And if you are new here, I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy the content. We talk about all things related to money and adulting in general because we just want to do better at this life thing, okay? So, guys, good to be back. I was just having a conversation over the phone with someone who is planning to buy a car. So I was sharing my experience and the things that I did to prepare for buying my first car, which I still have now. And then I thought to myself, while this is still fresh in my memory because I just spoke about it, let me just do a quick video on what are some of the things that you can do to prepare for buying your first car, or rather, what are some of the things that I did in preparation for buying my first car. So emphasis on preparation and before, right? Those words are very important because if you're watching this video and you're thinking, oh, I'm so far from buying a car, I can barely afford it, let me just wait, don't do that, because everything that I'm going to discuss in this video is actually a list of things that you can start doing today to prepare, okay? So don't waste any time. Make sure that you are preparing well in advance. The longer time that you give yourself, the better for you. And a bonus tip before I even start, I took my time, okay? Like a lot of people were saying, sorry, excuse the background. Like I said, I'm just on my way back from where I was coming from. So I took my time, okay? I took my jolly good time in preparing to buy a car. I did not succumb to any pressure. And that's because I wanted to prepare properly and I wanted my mind and most importantly, my money to be in the right place. Okay, cool. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into it. The first thing you need to do is make sure that you get your driver's license as soon as possible, okay? Now, I know some people are going to think, but this is a no-brainer. Like, no reputable place is going to sell you a car if you don't have a valid driver's license. But guys, some people wait till they are closer to affording a car or closer to buying a car before they finalize this, without realizing the impact that it has on your insurance premium. So if you buy a car on car finance, you will be forced to take comprehensive cover for your car, right? To be safe. And when you do this, you are going to have an insurance premium that you pay for your car on a monthly basis. Now, one of the factors out of many that they look at is how long you've had your driver's license, or how long you've been driving, and that will have an impact on your insurance premium and how high, low, medium it is, okay, amongst other things that are being considered. So, one of the things I noticed when I looked at my insurance premium and my colleagues and my friends is that mine was much lower than theirs, and I couldn't understand why. But then I figured out when I was studying insurance that it actually played a part, like how long we'd been driving or how long we'd had our driver's license played a part. And if I knew this before, I would have gotten my license as soon as I could possibly get it, right? But I never saw the need because I wasn't going to drive, according to me, anytime soon. So guys, make sure that you get this on lockdown as soon as possible. Even if you're thinking of buying a car and you haven't put any money together yet, make sure that it is there, it's available, and you're practicing your driving as soon as you can. The second thing, make sure that you build a good and healthy credit record well in advance. This is something else that you need to look at before a month before or before 2 months before. So one of the things, or rather an assumption that some people sometimes have, is that having a good credit score and a healthy credit record or profile means that you don't have any debt. I once thought that at some point in time, that I don't have any bad debt, which means that when I'm ready to take car finance or a bond, banks will be lining up to give me the best possible rates because I don't owe anyone anything. It doesn't work like that, okay? So having a good credit score and a good credit profile basically means that you've proven that you can borrow and you can return the way that you are supposed to and the way that you were contracted to do so, okay? Now, the only way to prove this is to actually borrow. And I know there's a lot of debate around why do you need debt to prove you can get debt and all of that. But that's how the system works, okay? You need to prove that you've had debt and you were able to repay it. So how did I do this? I built my credit score by having a credit card. So I took a credit card with my bank that I was banking with, got it a really good fee. And then what I did is I used to swipe my credit card when I used to buy things that are in my monthly budget. Not anything new, not anything extravagant, but only what was in my budget. So I used to use my credit card as opposed to my debit card for these purchases. And then before the end of the month, i.e., be within the 55-day period. If you're not sure what a 55-day period means, then you haven't watched my previous video, and please do so. But I used to pay back everything before the 55-day period, which means that I paid no interest. Now, sometimes people don't believe this, but I've had a credit card and paid no interest for it, okay? It is possible and it is true. So that's how I built my credit score. I'd pay with my credit card and then paid back. Now, obviously, this requires a lot of discipline. You need to understand why you are doing this, and you are doing this not to pay interest, not to buy things you don't need, and things that you want and can't afford, but to build a good credit score. And that's how I built mine. You can build yours in however way that you think you need to, but the point is you need a good credit score and a good credit profile if you want to get fair interest rates, which I think I did when I bought my first car. The third thing is that it's very important to prioritize and do your research, okay? This is going to help you not be put into a corner by peer pressure, by pressure at the dealership, by pressure with people around you. Make sure that you understand what is a priority to you. Okay. I chose two priorities. I normally say try not to choose a lot of priorities because then you're going to find yourself stretching yourself far too thin and not accomplishing what you want to accomplish. Okay. So I chose two priorities when it came to the type of car that I wanted. My main priority was fuel efficiency. I needed a car that was fuel efficient because I didn't want to have a car and be mobile, but then be stuck in certain places because I don't have enough money for petrol, or not travel to specific places because I can't afford to and I need to wait for the end of the month. All of that just defeated the purpose of having a car for me. Okay, a car for me is convenience to be mobile. So now if I'm stuck because I don't have petrol or I can't afford petrol, it honestly defeats the purpose. So that was very important to me. I'm also from Eastern Cape, living in Johannesburg, so a fuel efficient vehicle was top priority in my instance, and it's what made the most sense. My second priority was also it needed to be something that would be reliable and last me for a very long time. Why? Because I didn't want to chop and change cars. Okay. When I bought my car, I think it was a year after I started working, and I wanted to keep that car, which I have. As I grew within work, as I changed my roles, as I earned more, I wanted to still drive the same car and not like be urged to change it because something's wrong with it. I keep fixing it. It's unreliable. I don't like it anymore. I wanted something that was reliable, that would last me, that would not require like a lot of cash outlays that's happening that I didn't necessarily budget for. So something reliable was top priority for me. You could have your own priorities that are really important. For instance, if you have a family, it could be the size of the car. You know, if you've got a lot of kids, you might want space in the boot. You might want more seats than the average car has. Um, if you're really into cars, like my husband is, speed might be a priority. I don't understand why speed would be a priority, but who am I to judge? Speed might be maybe something that you really think is important for some reason. So, people's priorities are different. But the point is that choose your main priorities and stick to them. And also, you can't have 10 priorities unless you've got millions to spend on a car and you don't really have a budget. But you can't like want the most fuel efficient, but the fastest, and also the most brand new, and also the most reliable, and also because all these things are going to come at a cost. So choose two priorities and say that you can't compromise on these two, and these are your reasons, and that will help you narrow your search, okay? So that you're not looking too far wide and getting all confused and being pressured into decisions and choices that you don't necessarily agree with. That is very important. So the fourth thing I did was I started paying for my car before I had it in my head. Okay. So what I did was after I narrowed down the type of car that I wanted based on my priorities, I then went online. There's many online calculators that you can use. I went online and I figured out um, based on how much my car costs, the average interest that I'm going to get, this is the monthly repayment that I'm likely to have. And then I said, okay, cool. So my repayments are going to be, let's say for argument's sake, 2,000 Rand. I added 1,500 to that. And then I said, okay, my car repayments in total, including fuel and maintenance and insurance, are going to be 4,000 Rand, as an example, right? And then I told myself that for 6 months, okay, for 6 months. So now when people kept asking me, why aren't you buying a car? Why aren't you buying a car? I was busy in that training myself and my money and my mind that I would have 4,000 Rand leaving my bank account every single month. And I didn't want to feel it, okay? I didn't want it to be an uncomfortable payment that leaves me stranded, broke, hungry, deprived, and all of those other things. For 6 months, I made a scheduled payment with my bank, and on payday, when I got paid, that 4,000 Rand would leave my account into a savings account. Okay. So for 6 months, I knew that 4,000 Rand leaves my account into a savings account, and that would be for my car repayment. This is before I go to the dealership, before I speak to anyone about buying a car, before any of that, because I needed my mind and my money to know that this amount was going to leave my bank account, and I needed to be comfortable and to understand that I can still live beyond this amount, and I don't have to take additional debt or credit to sustain this repayment. This is very, very important, especially if you're looking for something more high end. Just practice actually paying for this car before you actually do, and get yourself into contractual agreements and see if you can afford it. Okay. So that's something else that I did. Another thing that I did as well is that I also paid a deposit on my car, or rather, I saved up for a deposit. So using the previous step, that savings account, I used that towards my car deposit, and I also saved some other money as well that I got from side hustles, etc., to throw into that if and when there were opportunities to do so. So what this helps with is that it reduced my repayment even further. Okay, it was really important to me that my car does not throttle my budget. It does not leave me regretting the decision and wondering why I bought it so soon, why I chose something that I can't afford, etc. So the higher my deposit, the lower the repayments, and the more comfortable I would be around my car repayments. So I know that some people choose like balloon payments or 0% deposit and all of that. That's entirely up to you and for your own reasoning. But for me, it was important that I do have a deposit. And also, one thing that I found out when I was buying the car that I didn't know is that there are additional once-off costs that you actually pay for on the day as well, like a registration cost, sometimes a service plan, or whatever it is, depending on what type of deal you have with the dealer that you are buying from. But I didn't want those once-off costs to be added to my car loan, right? I wanted to pay them off. So this is where my deposit came in handy a lot as well, because I was able to pay off those costs once off, so they're not added to my loan. And I was also able to cover, paying off some of the principal amount that I actually had. So that really, really helped me. So I'd really advise that if you can, you save for a deposit. But the most important step, I think, is also just training your mind and your money to be ready for the car installment. And if you do that, then subsequently you are saving, and that money could go towards a car deposit. So, guys, those are some of the things that I experienced, and those are some of the ways that I prepared for buying my first car. You'll notice that these are all things that I did in preparation to buying my car, not necessarily when making the decision. Okay, so then there's also like the part where you actually buying the car, you negotiating prices, you choosing your interest rate and the type, and you choosing a balloon payment, and all of those things that are factored in. And I'll do a separate video for that. Okay, because now we're still talking about the preparation, and I didn't want this to be super long. So if you are preparing, those are some of the things that you can start doing now that actually, to be honest, need quite some time. It's a big decision. This is going to be either the biggest line item on your budget or the second biggest next to your rent or your bond. So please make sure that you think wisely about the decision. You take your time to think about the decision. Don't fall into traps of pressure, of keeping up with the Joneses, of anything that will make you make a decision that doesn't necessarily align with your goals and where you see yourself. And most importantly, make sure that you are comfortable, okay, and that you are happy with what you've decided on, regardless of what that choice is, and that you are well informed in the options that you have. And if you did find this video helpful and insightful, please don't forget to leave me a huge thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed as yet, please consider doing so, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.